A woman fostered a boy for years, but during the adoption hearing, he told this to the court. Meet Sarah Kozad and Stuart Shank, a kind-hearted couple who has been fostering children for several years. Sarah has always been passionate about helping children in need, and she takes pride in providing them with a stable and loving home. One of the children that Sarah has fostered is a boy named Michael. Michael was placed in foster care due to his parents' inability to care for him. He was just 3 years old when he was first placed in Sarah's home, and he was initially apprehensive about living with someone he didn't know. When Michael first arrived at Sarah's home, he was scared and uncertain about his new surroundings. He had been through a lot in his young life, and the transition to a new home was overwhelming. He struggled to adapt to the new rules and routines, often acting out in frustration. However, Sarah was patient with him, understanding that his behavior was a reflection of the trauma he had experienced. Despite the challenges, Sarah worked tirelessly to create a stable and loving environment for Michael. She made sure he had everything he needed, from clean clothes to healthy meals. She also made an effort to get to know Michael and understand his interests, taking him on outings to museums and parks and spending time playing games with him at home. Over time, Michael began to feel more comfortable in his new home. He formed a special bond with Sarah, seeing her as a source of comfort and support. They shared many heartwarming moments together, from cooking dinner together to watching movies on the couch. Michael even started to open up to Sarah about his feelings and past experiences, something that he had never done before. Despite the challenges that come with fostering, Sarah was committed to providing Michael with a safe and nurturing environment. She was patient and compassionate, working tirelessly to ensure that Michael's needs were met. As Michael grew older, Sarah continued to support him in any way she could, always with the hope that he would eventually be reunited with his biological family. However, as time went on, it became clear that this dream was not in Michael's future. In addition to Michael's new family situation, he had also been separated from his older brother. Months had passed since Michael had seen his brother Deshaun, who had been placed in a separate foster home. Sarah had been working hard to facilitate visits between the two siblings, knowing how important it was for them to maintain their relationship. And finally, the day of the much-anticipated sibling visit arrived. Michael woke up early that morning, unable to contain his excitement. He knew that he would get to see his big brother Deshaun, and he could hardly wait. Sarah helped him get ready, making sure he looked his best for the occasion. When they arrived at the park where the visit was scheduled to take place, Michael's eyes dotted around in search of his brother. And then, finally, he caught a glimpse of him from across the playground. Without hesitation, Michael ran as fast as he could and jumped into his brother's arms. The two siblings hugged tightly, tears streaming down their faces. Deshaun looked up at Sarah and smiled, mouthing the words, "Thank you." It was a moment that Sarah would never forget. For Deshaun, the visit was a chance to reconnect with someone who had been a constant in his life, even during the most difficult times. His brother was someone he could laugh and play with, someone who understood what he had been through. It was a reminder that despite everything, he was not alone. For Sarah, watching this reunion unfold was a powerful reminder of the importance of foster care. She knew that Michael's life would be forever changed by the love and support he had received in her home. And as he watched the two brothers embrace, she knew that this was what it was all about. Creating a sense of family, even in the most difficult circumstances. That's when she realized they needed to be together, and she needed to foster both of them. Initially, Sarah had reservations about fostering an older child as Deshaun was 10. But upon meeting him, she quickly formed a strong bond with him and became his foster mother with ease. While the couple prioritized supporting reunification efforts as foster parents, they eventually faced a challenging and emotionally turbulent journey when deciding to adopt the boys, which was not their original plan. Throughout the process, They struggled with conflicting emotions and were torn between the desire to reunite the children with their families and the wish to adopt them. So when the day of adoption finally arrived, they were extremely nervous. What would the judge say? It could go either way. Sarah and Deshaun were sitting in the courthouse, waiting for the judge to enter the room. They sat side by side, holding hands tightly, their nerves on edge. This was the day they had been waiting for. The day when the boy's future would be decided. Sarah's heart was racing as she thought about all the time she had spent with Deshaun and Michael. She had watched them grow and flourish under her care, and she couldn't bear the thought of them leaving her. Michael, too, was feeling anxious. He had never known a life without Sarah, and the idea of not having her in his life was almost unbearable. As they waited, the tension in the room grew. Every passing minute felt like an eternity, and Sarah and Deshaun's nerves were frayed. They knew that the judge's decision would change their lives forever, and they couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation. Finally, the judge entered the room, and the proceedings began. Sarah listened intently as the judge reviewed her case. Outlining the reasons why Deshaun and Michael's interests would be best served by staying with Sarah and Stuart. She held her breath as the judge took a long pause, deliberating over her decision. As the tension in the room mounted, Deshaun squeezed Sarah's hand tightly. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, and he could see the fear and anxiety etched on Sarah's face. And then finally, the judge spoke. Deshaun, the judge said, before I make my final decision, is there anything you would like to say? Deshaun took a deep breath and looked up at the judge. Yes, Your Honor, he said. They all love us, Deshaun told the judge, speaking about himself and his brother, who was also adopted that day. We love them. Our whole family is the best thing we ever had. I'm glad to have these people in my life. I'm glad to be their son. They're the best thing I ever had. If I could wish for anything in the world, I would wish I could just love these people for the rest of my life. There was a collective gasp in the courtroom as Deshaun's words sank in. Sarah was overcome with emotion, tears streaming down her face. The judge smiled, clearly moved by Deshaun's heartfelt words. I don't think I need to say anything more, the judge said. It is clear that Deshaun has found a loving home with you, and I'm happy to announce that the adoption is granted. The courtroom erupted in applause as Sarah hugged Deshaun tightly, grateful for the love and affection he had brought into her life. It was a moment they would both cherish forever. After the hearing, the family of four walked out of the courtroom hand in hand, both overjoyed at the judge's decision. They embraced each other tightly, tears of happiness streaming down their face. For Sarah, the relief and joy were overwhelming. She had poured her heart and soul into fostering Deshaun and Michael and had prayed that the adoption would be granted. Now, finally, she could call them her sons and give them the forever home they deserved. As they left the courthouse, Deshaun kissed Michael on the head as Sarah looked on. It was clear that Deshaun's relationship with his brother had grown even stronger since their reunion, and Sarah was grateful for the bond that had been formed between them. For Sarah, Stuart, Deshaun and Michael, everything has changed and nothing has changed since adoption day, Kozad said. They had been living as a family, but now it is official. What is your favorite part of this story? Let us know in the comments below.